please don't forget to smash that like button, comment down below, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and share this video. You can also check the description of this video and you'll find my compiled link featuring my Patreon, my trade binder, TCG player affiliate link, Discord, Twitter, Twitch, and TikTok. So check all that out, and I will see you in the video. How's it going, everybody? CJ here, back with another video. We're doing a first thoughts today. This first thought is on Sefris of the Hidden Ways. This is a really cool card. So, at first, when I first read this card, I was really disappointed in the fact that it can only trigger once each turn. But it is each turn, so you can do it during your opponent's turn. It's pretty easy to make this thing trigger during your opponent's turn. So there's actually a lot you can do here and a lot of value that you can gain. And out of the dungeons, I actually think that Tomb of Annihilation and whatever that middle tomb is seems like the best ways to go, because you can get to the you can complete the dungeon faster. Like the other dungeon is a much longer dungeon, so it's gonna be a while before you can reanimate anything. While the other dungeons, super short, you can get to the completion and reanimate something very quickly. So I think that Tomb of Annihilation in particular is probably going to be a heavily used one here, because you can get there very fast if you go the oubliette route, and the oubliette route's not that bad in this deck because of the fact that you are already trying to really sacrifice things and stuff. And the oubliette route will actually, like when you sack something to oubliette, you'll trigger Sefris. That seems great. But unfortunately, you won't be able to get that same trigger off. If you first venture into oubliette through Sefris's trigger, you unfortunately won't be able to go the next step off that same trigger because you can only do it once each turn. But I still think it's a very good card. And there's a lot of good ways to put stuff in your graveyard. Specifically, grave tutoring, which is going to be the first topic I talk about. After that, we have an aristocrats theme. Then we have some self-mill, some reanimation, some good reanimation targets, and some one-off cards. And then in the 99. No meme build for this because I couldn't really think of a good way to go meme about this. Like, you're going to need to be sacrificing things. And it can't be tokens because it says specifically creature cards. So tokens will not trigger Sefris, just in case you are wondering. But we're going to start off with grave tutors. So, cards that tutor stuff to your graveyard seem really great in this because you can get stuff that you want to reanimate into your graveyard, plus it triggers Sefris because when a creature card goes to your graveyard from anywhere. So you got cards like Burning Rune Demon, Buried Alive, Entomb, Final Parting, Gravebreaker Lamia, Intuition, which works in a little weird way, Ordic Lore Mage, Unmarked Grave, and Vile Entomber. All of those are probably auto-includes. Just they trigger Sefris, they venture you, and they get what you want in the graveyard so that way you can reanimate it once you complete the dungeon. But I think the easiest way to trigger Sefris, and during each of your opponent's turns is going to be through an aristocrats route. There's a lot of good ways, because you can sacrifice things at instant speed. And so you sacrifice something during each opponent's turn, and you get a trigger each time. Seems good. So you're going to want very recursive creatures, so that way you can just, like, they bounce in and out of your graveyard, so you can keep sacking them and keep getting those triggers. So you got stuff like Bloodghast, Skyclave Shade, Nether Trader, Reassembling Skeleton, Blood-Soaked Champion, Dungeon Crawler, Master of Death, Relentless Dead, Scrap Heap Scrounger. All of those seem pretty great in this deck. They're very recursive, they come back from your grave. They seem good. They seem very good. And so, I don't see a good reason not to run any of those. Like, very easy way to just keep bringing things in and out of the graveyard, keep cycling things, and being able to get all these triggers. You're going to need ways to sacrifice them, though. So some of the good sack outlets include Altar of Dementia, Phyrexian Altar, Ashnod's Altar, Viscera Seer, Woe Strider, Kyrian Feeder. All those seem fantastic. And then there's some cards that will just synergize with this. If you're sacrificing things, you can get triggers off these sacrifices through cards like Grim Horror Specs, Liliana Dreadhorde General, Midnight Reaper, Black Market, Pitiless Plunderer, Grave Pact, Dictate of Erebos, Blood Artist, and Zulaport Cutthroat. All seem like great includes in this. Just a really good aristocrats, reanimation, just like bounce stuff in and out of the graveyard, doing that over and over again. It seems good. And you can also fill the graveyard through milling. You can mill cards, and if you mill something that's a creature, then it'll trigger Sefris. Seems good. So you got cards like Mesmeric Orb, Perpetual Timepiece, Doom Whisperer and Deranged Assistant. All these seem like good includes. You've got ways to reanimate any creatures that come into your graveyard because, yes, your commander does reanimate, but it's a little slower. So there's ways to just like speed up that route and reanimate something fast. And cards that let you do that are Apprentice Necromancer, Doom Necromancer, Hell's Caretaker, Priest of Fellrights, Young Necromancer. All of those are also very nice because they put creatures into your graveyard, which triggers Sefris, so that's good synergy there. But you can also use Animate Dead, Reanimate, Necromancy, Persist, and Victimize. Victimize also puts something in your graveyard, and that card brings 2 back. I love Victimize. Underrated card. Should be in a lot more decks than it is. And now some one-off cards. Sir Conrad seems fantastic in this deck. When a creature dies, you're dealing damage. When a creature leaves your graveyard, you're dealing damage. It's awesome. Nim Devourer. This card is super interesting in this deck. Let me pull this up for a second here. Because Nim Devourer says, for 2 mana, return it from your graveyard to play, then sacrifice a creature. Play this ability only during your upkeep. So, beginning of your turn, untap upkeep, trigger. You pay 2, untap upkeep, in your upkeep, you pay 2, bring back Nim Devourer, sack Nim Devourer to itself, you get a trigger off Sefris before your turn even starts. That's nice. And you can do that every single one of your turns. So, that seems like a really good synergy. You've got Karmic Guide and Revel Arc, which, like with a sack outlet, can kind of just cycle in and out of your graveyard forever. So you can win the game through for triggers like that, like with Blood Artist in play or something. And that seems fantastic. And also that's a great include just because each part of that can reanimate stuff for you, which is nice. You have Pull from Eternity, because in case somebody like exiles your graveyard with your recursive creatures, this way you can just pull back one of those creatures that was exiled. Like if your Bloodghast gets exiled and you need your Bloodghast, you can use Pull from Eternity to get that back. I think this is one of the few decks where that card actually would be decent. Plus, Pull from Eternity actually triggers Sefris because it brings it from exile to your graveyard, and it's when it enters your graveyard from anywhere. So that seems great. Crucible World seems good, especially if you go further into the mill theme, because you'll end up with lands in your graveyard, and you can play those lands from your graveyard. Also, if you sacrifice lands to Oubliette from Tomb of Annihilation, then this way you can replay those lands, so it's got some good synergies there. Tortured Existence seems like an amazing card. You pay 1 black during anyone's turn, and you discard a creature card and return a creature card from your graveyard to your hand, so you just do that every turn, and boom. You get a trigger every single turn for 1 black. Awesome card. You've also got Teferi Master of Time, which you can uptick and draw a card and discard a card, so you just discard a creature during each of your opponent's turns. Seems good. Seems very good. And next, we've got some good reanimation targets. I think I did these a little out of order here. But some good reanimation targets are Noxious Gearhulk, Shieldred, Jingataxis, and Elesh Norn. All seem fantastic in the deck. We got Sun Titan and Grave Titan, which are awesome. Sepulchral Primordial and Diluvian Primordial seem cool. Ashen Rider, Runescarred Demon, Avacyn, Angel of Hope seems amazing. You've got Villas, and you got Razaketh. All those seem like they'd be awesome includes in this deck to be able to reanimate. Very fun cards. And lastly, in the 99, I actually could only find one really good deck to put this in because of the fact that it's Esper. You have to you could also throw it in that zombie deck that I cannot remember the name of. But I don't think it'd be that good in that deck. What's that zombie deck called? Oh my goodness, this is going to bother me. Well, first, the Sign of the Ur Dragon. I'm going to look up the zombie deck while I'm doing this. Sign of the Ur Dragon seems like a good deck for it because you're going to be putting cards into your graveyard through Scion's trigger or activated ability, and just being able to do this over and over seems good. Like, they'll just slowly go through the dungeons and then be able to start reanimating dragons. That seems awesome, actually. That's like a super powerful synergy. And the zombie card that I was talking about was Verena Lich Queen. That seems pretty good because you're going to be milling cards. You'll put cards into your graveyard. You can exile cards from your graveyard and create zombie tokens. But most importantly, you can venture in and reanimate stuff, and that seems good. Seems like a good card in that deck. Any self-mill deck that's an Esper can kind of utilize this. But the problem is there's just not a lot of Esper decks that really fall under these categories, unfortunately. But any Reanimator deck that has Esper in it, any graveyard-based deck with Esper in it, this seems like a good card. And that is what I have for Sefris of Hidden Ways. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you next time. Peace out, everybody.